The question that I get asked most frequently is, so how do I become a hand model? Well, what you got to do is first evaluate your hands. Do you have long, straight fingers? How do they look? How is your skin tone? Do you have an even skin tone? Do you have any visible scars? Do you have anything like that? How visible are your knuckles? Really check them out and evaluate them. Your fingers need to be long, they need to be straight. Then look at your nail beds. How are your nail beds? Are they nice and wide? Do you have long nail beds? How are your nails? Like, you really sort of have to get very picky with it and go over them. And then what you need to do is have photographs taken. So get a friend with a camera. This isn't the time to run out and spend a lot of money building a portfolio because it can be very expensive to hire a photographer to take hand pictures. And also not all photographers know how to do hand photographs. That's a very sort of specialized niche. It's called tabletop photography or tabletop. And that's where they're focused on a product and hands are seen almost as a product. So you'll need to get photographs taken of your hands and then evaluate how your hands look in the pictures. Because it's just like people. Some people look, they look fine in person, and then you see them on camera and you're like, wow. And then there are hands that are exactly the same. So do that, evaluate them, see how they look in the pictures, and then at this point, look around and find out what local modeling agencies are in your area. And get their address and send them your pictures or get their email. When I was starting out, I had to look up everybody and snail mail them. This was 13, 14 years ago, so I was snail mailing pictures of my hands that I had printed out just to different agencies for them to check out. This was after I had done a few jobs and I was interested in sort of pursuing it further as a career. So I sent out my pictures to everyone with a little note introducing myself, saying what I'd done, and waited to hear back. And I got a bunch of rejection letters, which, it happens. And then I got a bunch of come in and meet me. And I went in and I got to meet the agents and they got to evaluate my hands in person. And when you do this, you'll go in with probably no polish so they can actually see what your nails look like. So then your agents will send you out on go-sees, and that's where you go and they see. It's basically you go into a room with a lot of other people and you go in and you show the client your hands so they can see how, say, the cell phone fits in your hand, how the water bottle that you might be using, it will look with you holding it, like that. And then they'll probably snap a few pictures and take your composite card, and you'll go home and you'll wait, and maybe you'll book it, and maybe you won't. You never know. And it's just one of those things, you got to go to those and sort of forget it. Now, the thing about it is you really have to be local to where you're trying to work. So you have to be available at a moment's notice. You have to have that type of flexibility. So it can be very, very difficult getting started. And I was lucky that I lived in an area where I could easily get to all the major cities. And you have to make yourself available, and then hopefully you'll get bookings and that type of thing, and then you'll get tear sheets, and then you'll use those tear sheets to bump up your composite card or something like that, so that your agents can send out more recent stuff of your work. So it's kind of a never-ending process and never-ending hustle. It's just like being a facey, as I like to call them, the wonderful face models. It's like being one of those. You're constantly going on castings, you're constantly showing your hands, and then hopefully you're starting to book and everything like that. But that's kind of how the progression of what I did and what you need to do to get started.